All right, Dana, I heard you react to that.
Yeah. Oh, go, sorry.
Well, you know what the question is. I mean, there you've got Jen Psaki saying, well, they expect us to not like Trump.
Yeah, well, and yeah, but we know, like, she had a lifelong Democrat, worked for Obama. That's how I first met her, in the Bush to Obama transition. That's when we became friends. And then she worked for Biden. Like, we all get all that. One thing that's interesting is that when anybody goes against type, it is interesting and it can really help. Yeah. I was reminded of this one time at the briefing room. We were under the gun when I was press secretary. President Bush's numbers were bad. And a reporter says, well, what are you going to do? Because your numbers are so bad. And I said, well, there's only two entities in this town who have worse numbers than us: Congress and you. And that was back then. So then fast forward, and I would just look at the last 4 years. I think that the Biden acuity cover-up, that is terrible, and now all these books are being written about it. The fact that the White House said, oh, Joe Biden is running circles around us at the White House. We knew that wasn't true. They would say that inflation wasn't a problem. They said it was transitory. That wasn't true. They said that the border was closed. It wasn't true. I mean, there's all of these things. Plus, then you add all the democracy is going to die as soon as President Trump gets into office. See, that's not true. So I think that adds to it. Plus, there's a lot of different ways to get your media now. And I'm glad to be here at Fox News, where you can get all of it.
Okay, well, you know, Harold, when Rainn Wilson, he kind of claps back and he says, you know, they really were closed-minded as it relates to the previous administration. And, you know, they see no evil. And then he says, a lack of insight and passion last time, but here it's different. But not you. He takes it back. He's like criticizing the left-wing media, but at the same time saying to Stephanie Ruhle, but I don't mean you. What's that about?
He's being kind, and Stephanie probably, maybe he meant that. I think a couple of things. We shouldn't kid ourselves. We live in a society where people have so many options to access information, to confirm information that they may read about or hear about. But we also live at a time, interestingly and ironically, that more people flock to the news, the voices, the insights, the visuals that reinforce what it is they think is right or reinforce what it is they think is the appropriate way to go about trying to solve problems. We've had conversations about this before and talking about it and accessing it or entering in a little different way. I'm a believer that you should have to sit with people you disagree with. I do a lot. I think you should have to not only sit with them, but listen.
Well, you get paid too.
Well, then there's that. But at the same time, I love outside of here, I sit with people all the time that I disagree with, and I try my hardest not only to understand, but to figure out how we can get to higher ground and solve problems. The left is going to have to understand that Donald Trump won twice, and the country elected him because they believed in a lot of the things that he wanted to do. Instead of trying to tear him down and call him names, let's try to build up what it is we want to do, which is why I continually and try to steadily focus on an agenda, why I steadily try to focus on the positive, why I steadily try to focus on ways in which we can help people get a better education for their kids, take home more pay, be more optimistic about the future. I think that's what I interpreted from Rainn Wilson saying to Stephanie Ruhle, and I hope that Stephanie listened, and I hope that Democrats and the left, and for that matter, Republicans listen as well.
You know, Greg, when Rainn Wilson said 40% of the public doesn't trust the media, it's really 60%. He had the stat wrong. But the truth is, no one trusts the media, but no one knows who to believe anymore. So does the media have to apologize, or what do they have to do to be believed?
I think it's healthy not to believe the media anymore. That's exactly where you should start. I'm going to convert the Hollywood liberal in 90 seconds. So what you saw there with Rainn Wilson is the evolution from an actor to a fully realized human being. So every actor begins as a blank slate, and they embrace liberal beliefs because everybody around them in their industry embraces it. So they adopt the same beliefs, unaware that they just simply took on another role. Because they're an actor, they don't realize it. They just think this is what you do. What happens is, if you're lucky, like Rainn or, say, Zachary Levi or Vince Vaughn, you suddenly realize this is a role. It's not real. And that revelation then allows you to think for yourself and allows somebody like Rainn to go on there and go, wait, hold on a minute, because most actors wouldn't do that. We've all met performers, and we've seen the difference between one that embraces dogma and one that doesn't. And the outlier, as we know, whether they are libertarian, right-wing, far left, they're always smarter, more curious, more knowledgeable, and they're free. So there's like this three-step process. Blank slate, embrace the liberal theology, realize it's fake, and then you become free. Maybe it's 4 steps. I don't know. This is what happened to me at Cal. I realized that my leftism was a role to fulfill my ego. I thought it was fake. So to finalize this thing, to the liberal in entertainment, ask yourself, is it a role or is it you? If you realize it's a role, then that'll allow you to discover the real you.
Would you like to wrap it up, Jesse?
Well, I am loving liberals going on other liberals' podcasts because this has never happened before. And what you're seeing when you saw Liz Warren be interviewed by that other liberal, and
that was great.
The liberal was like, well, you're a liar. I mean, Joe Biden is basically dead. And then you had Walz talk with Newsom, and Newsom was like, we should kind of learn about these people, these Republicans. And Walz was like, we can't be friends with these animals. Oh. And then today, Rainn Wilson, he's like, no, you're not you, Stephanie, but your industry is horrible. And so we saw it during, I think it was the Chicago convention. When you walk around and you see these anchors and these senators, they walk around like ghosts. No one recognized them. And this place was packed with Democrats. When we were in Milwaukee at the convention, we needed security. Greg didn't need anybody. No one could see him. But everybody here needed security because we have such a deep connection to our audience and to the American people.
You need security for other reasons.
What would those reasons be, Greg?
You need a blanket.
And so, like, when I go into a city, I always talk to the driver, find out what's cooking, what building's that, how the team's doing. Or I talk to the bellman or the bartender. That's the best. Or I talk to Johnny, and Johnny tells me what other people are saying. So I would suggest Rule and the rest of this class of people get their own Johnny.
It's going
Talk
to
to the
help
help
them.
is what you're saying.
But it's going to help them. Them going on each other's podcasts and being challenged, finally, that will help
It's
them
healthy.
eventually.
It really is.
And fascinating. Up next.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.